Hello, welcome to this EDUcast, maximizing your channel incentive program, sponsored by WorkStride and Telecom Reseller. This is Gary Audin, and with me today is Tom Silk, Chief Customer Officer for WorkStride. And as we always do, we're going to talk about our agenda. What's an incentive program? What makes it successful? Objectives are really important, otherwise how do you measure whether you're successful or not? Who participates in the programs? Should we create competition among the people that are part of the program? And then you have to select the promotions, which ones will sell the incentive better to everyone else, and what is the compensation we should offer out there. So let's start off, Tom, with the basic question. What is a channel incentive program, and what do we need to make it successful?
All good, and it's a pleasure to be here, Gary. Channel incentive programs, WorkStride. What we've learned about the word channel incentive program is that a lot of people have lots of different definitions regarding what it is. Here at WorkStride, when we think about channel incentive programs, what we're thinking about is the company that's sponsoring the program is trying to change the behavior of the people that ultimately sell their products to end users in the short term. So if you're anybody that produces something, a service, a good, an item, and you go to market through an independent channel, a channel incentive program is an effort and initiative where you're trying to take what they normally do and do something differently for that specified period of time. Successful ones are often the ones that have goals associated with them. So it's kind of weird to say what makes it successful. Well, you need goals. Well, it makes the goal successful. But what we found for most of the people out there, and when I say the people, channel marketers, organizations that are sponsoring channel incentive programs, is most of them don't go into the initiative of setting up a channel incentive program with clear benchmarks on what success is. So the first thing that we encourage all of our customers to do, or really anybody that's looking to go out and create a channel incentive program, is to write down what it is that you think this initiative will yield your company in terms of a benefit or a return. Then hold yourselves accountable for making sure that your program lives up or executes against those things that will ultimately return that type of positive benefit to your organization. And if you start there, it's typically hard to go wrong.
Now, the next slide has 10 elements for creating and managing a successful incentive program. Are they all equal, or are some more important to follow than others?
Some are more important to follow than others depending upon the customer. And when I'm talking about the customer, or the company sponsoring a channel incentive program, some of the attributes that we look at are you new to channel incentives, or shall I say it another way, is the field of salespeople that you would be targeting with your program new to you and this type of program? And if they are, we like to lean towards things like simplicity, really kind of making it a really easy process for them to get involved. If the customer is more experienced or more mature with their program, then we're very much into gaining insight. What has in the past worked well? What would we change to get better? If you're somewhere in between, what we call a DIY customer, where you've dipped your toe into the water of incentives but haven't actually executed one with a vendor or done a really big grandiose initiative, then we might kind of think about just objectives and what are you trying to gain out of it. So they're all important, but we might reprioritize them a little bit depending upon where the customer is in their maturity level of channel incentive programs.
Now let's start. You had said several things, and you set objectives early on. How do we set clear objectives? And there's two versions, quantitative and qualitative.
Yeah, well, so let's start with the quantitative ones, because those are typically the ones that the finance departments are more interested in hearing about, and ultimately the ones that you have to win over to get the type of budget that you need to run these programs. For most of our customers, the quantitative measurements are in sort of two separate categories. One, the P&L side, and the other, the subscriber growth. The P&L side would be more in tune with if the channel incentive program is around a particular product. Well, did that product sell more than it did in the previous period or in the previous year's period or against the control group? Did the revenue on that lift in sales meet or exceed the expenses of running the promotion? Where in your demographics or territory hierarchies did it sell more or less? So if you want to kind of look at your own landscape and a territory environment, What are the measurements in the Northeast versus the Southwest, so on and so forth. So those are typically sort of the P&L endeavors that we engage with our customers on to make sure that we've got our finger on the pulse of the correct financial metrics so that we can show which promotions are working really well and which promotions maybe aren't killing it. And by the way, Gary, I will say in this, sometimes the customer looks for the easy answer or the easy way out. And what I mean by that is they might want to know, hey, did it work? Did we meet our goal? What we do here at WorkStride, and what I encourage all of our customers to take a look at, is to answer that question several different ways. Your channel, your go-to-market strategy with your channel is typically not a number of one. It's a series of territories, hierarchies, big agents, small agents, medium-sized agents. You have to ask yourself that question to every different demographic or attribute of your channel sales process, and then collate all of those answers together. It's not usually as easy as it's just it worked, it didn't. It's it worked here because of this, and it didn't work there because of that. And that's how we help our customers improve. The other side that we talk about, not in the P&L environment, is subscriber growth or enrollment growth. Sometimes these programs, if you're approaching them from what I'll call the loyalty perspective, is sometimes just to grow the amount of sellers of your product. And by offering a program that creates a rewarding opportunity for all of those particular outlets, dealers, contractors, whatever it is in your particular discipline, then one of the benefits or the KPIs that you might be looking at is how many of those are now interacting with your promotion. So subscriber growth, P&L return, put those two together and you can create a really good quantitative analysis and benchmark for your programs. On the qualitative side, one of the things that we love to do is track, I would call it the qualitative side of incentives. What that is now we're not looking at numbers, we're not looking at units moved, but we're looking at the amount of times that somebody interacts with the website. How much time that they spend within the website. How often are they coming back to the website within a specific amount of time? And that could be a mobile responsive environment, it could be a desktop environment. What we're trying to understand is what we're doing, is the program, is the process making itself available to the users, and are they interacting with it? The second thing we love to do is to get their own qualitative feedback. So first we look at their behaviors, then we ask them, was it easy? Did you enjoy it? Would you participate again? When you put those things into sort of what we call a report summary, you're going to really understand how your program performed. And what we do to make sure that you're set up for success is to go through what we think those particular benchmarks might be for your program.
One of the problems we have is we've got participants. Knowing your participants and what motivates them could make or break a good incentive program. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
If you don't start simply, what kind of penalties do you have?
Trust. You don't want to break the trust of your user base. So if I interact with a program, and that program could be the software of the program, or it could just be what we call the rule structure of the program, the explanation of the program. If it's complex, if it's too difficult for me to understand, I'm going to lose trust with you, your brand, the program, and I'm probably not going to come back in return. So where you suffer is potentially the incremental lift that you're hoping to get out of the program, and that subscriber growth in and of itself.
That gets into the point of easy participation. How does easy participation stimulate the program?
We try to kind of work off this concept of complex ease. And the idea behind complex ease is that we want to take on the hardship, the complex part. And just for edification purposes, when we're talking complex, we're talking about, I want this group to sell this that many times, but this group to sell this many times. And I want, if it's a Tuesday and the moon is out, them to get this. We take that on and we try to create the user experience so that it's really easy. So we generally want the user to be able to log in quickly, see the offer, see what's available to them, be able to interact with the program in some sort of gamified way, and then be able to get out. So get in and get out is sort of how we do it, and it's all based upon the user experience, and also conditioning the customers to try not to make the rules so complex that people can't really understand them.
How does this create internal competition, and is that a good thing for incentive programs?
Well, we've done a fair amount of research around the personalities of salespeople, and whether they're introverts or extroverts, what we found is all of them are competitive. And when you're competitive, the one thing that you want to understand is how you're doing comparatively to everybody else. Within the software, within the programs that we're sponsoring for our customers, we're big on little different types of gamification. One example would be like a leaderboard relative to your group, your region, your territory. And the idea is not just to kind of trump who's winning, but to see where you stand related to everybody else, whether it be the best person, the worst person, or the average person, and kind of create that experience that you want to move up, that you want to do better, that you want to outperform. In programs where we have that gamification experience, leaderboards, et cetera, versus those that don't, we see usually somewhere around a 20 to 22% higher participation rate on those particular programs with gamification. So we know from the data that it works well.
The next slide talks about communicating often. Why is that important to us? What does it stimulate?
We're so busy. We have so many things going on, whether it be personally, professionally, in the professional environment. We have customers, we have bosses, we have deliverables, and now comes in this thing called the Channel Incentive Program. I still have the same amount of bandwidth in my brain, but now I have to make room for this one extra thing. You could have the best program in the world, but if you're not reinforcing it on a daily, at the very least weekly basis, that bandwidth in that user's brain is going to be taken up by the next thing that comes out. So if you're not consistently reinforcing it, you're not going to get the type of prominence in Mindshare from that rep, and that's going to show itself in participation and all of the financial metrics that we were just talking about. So it's not just that you're communicating, but you're communicating frequently. When you're talking about what to communicate, you got to be crisp and clear with why your program is the best for them. What will they get out of it personally? Or there's this book called The Selfish Gene that I love, and we got to make sure that they understand what's in it for them. And if we do that frequently, we do that on a regular basis, and we make sure that the communication's crisp, you'll see the benefit of that in your subscriber rates and your participation growth.
You know, we could have two kinds of rewards, and that is specific and generic. Why is generic not as good as specific rewards?
And, you know, the generic, I often will sometimes use the terminology one size fits all. The reason it's not great is kind of like designing a pair of pants for everybody. You know, we all have different shaped waists, and although they all have pockets and legs and zippers and everything else, they're going to be good on some people, but not good on others. And I see the same thing happening with generic incentives. When you're out there and you're running a contest or initiative or promotion for the entirety of your audience, you're not taking advantage of what makes your audience unique. Each member of your audience might sell differently or have different sales realities or challenges. You have to be able to create an environment where you target those users differently than others. With a generic program, you're probably only going to hit a percentage of your people appropriately. Some you're going to make the contest too easy and overpay out, which is your finance person's worst nightmare. Some you're going to make it too difficult, and then people aren't going to want to participate because they don't see a clear way for them to succeed, to be selfish. When you target or you get more specific, you have the ability to kind of approach each unit or each individual within the program in their own way, which increases the likelihood of participation and then ultimately production in the program.
You know, different promotion types appeal to different people. That's partly what you've been saying. Would you explain what those differences are that you haven't covered yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have their kind of two mindsets when it comes to promotions with our customers. Those that come at it from what we call the loyalty perspective. Loyalty promotions are the ones that you see that are typically 12 months or even longer ongoing. I can do anything to basically be rewarded by you as a brand. So it's not around a product or a quota or a timeline. It's just, hey, whatever you do, remember us and you can get rewarded. The Spiff-based folks are the other group. That's where they don't want to reward people for a really long period of time. They want to reward you for the month of September for selling this particular type of product. What's great about the two different disciplines together is that you can have both successfully run in the same program. When you're looking at loyalty, you're creating a relationship, a trust factor with the person that's ultimately going to sell you, but it probably doesn't do much to change their behaviors around selling a particular product of yours. When you go to Spiffs and you're saying sell this specific product for this specific time frame, you've got that serious short behavior change cycle that you're looking for out of your users, and can probably ultimately impact your P&L quicker. So it's great to kind of vary and have both out there. One, the long-term one for the trust factor, the Spiff, or the short-term one for the quick hit on the P&L. And when you put them together, you can really start to move the needle on revenue.
We've talked about the types of promotion, but it also gets into this question. Why should rewards be agnostic then?
Back to what I was saying before, your audience is so unique. Everybody's a little bit different, and especially when it comes to lifestyle, and that's where rewards play a role, is how are you trying to match the selfish thing for them, the thing that they're going to get from agreeing to participate with you on this initiative, to their personalities. We call them passion points. Some people are, very into X, and others are very into Y. With WorkStride, one of the things that we tried not to do was guess, because we thought we would be terrible at it. If we tried to guess what this particular person wanted, or what that particular person wanted, or even what the customer wanted to do in terms of rewarding them. So we built our approach to be agnostic, which means anything goes. From customers wanting to reward people with their own product, to customers wanting to give away cash and checks, to everything in between, like gift cards, merchandise, iPods, iPhones, what have you. That agnostic mentality helps customers feel a lot more comfortable that they don't have to worry about taking on the responsibility of getting the gift right. That's the easy part. They can then focus on the rules, the workflows, the communication platform to make sure that their program is a success. So it's not just the benefit of what the user gets out of it, it's also the decreased stress levels of our customers.
On the next slide, we have the word Mindshare. Why is compensation plus Mindshare more important than just compensation by itself?
Short-term memory, my friend. We all have it. Whatever we heard last is sometimes the best thing. And what you have to remember about channel incentive programs is that you're not running them by yourselves. You're not the only people running them. Your competitors are running them too. So it's not enough to just design a program that might or would get somebody to interact with your brand, but you have to design the one better than the other person did, because they're also competing for mindshare. And when we talk the word mindshare, we're talking about that space, that bandwidth in the user's brain to take on the thought process of, should I sell X or should I sell Y if it's up to me? So mindshare is key, and building it is crucial. And the way that you do that is, again, through frequent competition, maybe even some creativity around program design, and then consistently reinforcing the benefits of the program within the audience that you're working with.
Now, WorkStride is in this business. Where do you fit in this environment?
Having been at this now for 2 decades, in the beginning, the business was basically about the reward fulfillment side. Before software came around, before the word or the concept of SaaS came around, it was all about reward fulfillment and posters and flyers. Then software came around and kind of changed it up a little bit. What we're trying to do is create a software environment, not just for the execution of the programs, but for the flexibility in strategically designing the programs. And what I mean by that is giving the customer the flexibility to design complex or simple promotions at their discretion whenever they want. That's our value proposition, is we're giving them the tools to be able to run promotions more frequently at a more complex level at a much lower cost basis. And the reason we're doing that is because we believe that the more frequent that a customer runs initiatives, runs contests or promotions for their audience, the more they're going to learn. And the more that they learn, the better they're going to get at the next promotion. So instead of only doing 1 promotion a year for 12 months, do 6 2-monthers. Try different things. Find the winning recipe and then replicate it. We're a thought engine. We're a strategic partner in the outcome of the promotion rather than somebody who's just simply trying to sell reward items to the audience.
Now, one of the questions that came up to me is, can't most organizations create their own program, or really do they need a platform? And I think with what you're talking about, part of the platform is the feedback that you get from success or failure.
Yeah, no, it's the feedback, but it's also, the target discipline of channel incentives is very unique from a software perspective. To do it internally requires a whole lot of work and effort, and you're only going to get to maybe 15 or 20% of what we could offer you as a vendor. So you've got sort of this kind of cost return analysis that you're going to have to do, and if done correctly, you'll see it lights up for WorkStride in terms of the right process. The other thing is outside of the program, Gary, is there's this whole support mechanism, support services that we wrap around the software. So when your audience has questions that are about the promotion or about the reward earning capabilities, you don't want to have to handle that as a program administrator. Yet that is a very important piece because your channel audience will rate or grade their trust level, their qualitative feedback on their ability to get questions answered quickly, so on and so forth. So WorkStride wraps a call center, an email support center around the software so that we can be timely in response and also create the valuable information on those customer interactions to share with our customer to, again, work on the improvement of the way that we run our promotions.
Would you expand on the WorkStride advantages, so the ones we haven't mentioned already?
Yeah, I mean the one that we see the customers react the strongest to is what we call audience targeting. In audience targeting, the idea is very simple. Rather than you run promotion for the whole country, you take a promotion concept, which is usually around a product, and let's say we wanted to sell space shuttles, right? Well, in the Northeast, they might buy space shuttles very differently than they do in the West Coast. The Midwest might be a market that we haven't entered yet. So trying to run one promotion where it's like, hey, for every 3 space shuttles you sell, you're going to get, $50 in rewards. We might have one derivation of that contest for the Northeast based upon what our data tells us would be successful. We might have a really simple structure for the Midwest since they haven't done it before. And then in the West, we might do, again, something different. The ability to give the customer the opportunity to target promotions based upon their demographics or geographical dynamics is really popular. The second key feature benefit is what we call our tiered contest structure. The biggest opponent to successful channel center programs are our customers' finance departments. And the number one reason is that they believe that sometimes those programs pay out for production they would have gotten otherwise. Or to say it another way, we didn't need the promotion to get this type of return. With WorkStride's tiered contest structure, we have the ability to take historical sales data into the platform and create promotions or contests only based upon the lift of that particular sales rep or that particular area that we're focused on. So in an example, if we know that Joey, the sales rep, sold 20 of these last year, we can set up a contest where Joey can get $50 for every unit he sells, minimum of 22. And we're encouraging those reps to go beyond what they would have done otherwise. Put audience targeting together with tiered contest capabilities and the myriad of other features and functions that we offer, and you got a winning formula for channel incentive success.
The next page talks about features, and the one that struck me is your third bullet, launch new promotions in a matter of minutes. In today's world of time to market is so important, this means time to failure. If it doesn't work, you can turn it around very quickly.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. Speed is one of the things that we're all about, and it's not just speed of being able to get the promotion out to the audience, but to think about the promotion, execute on the promotion, communicate the promotion, and then ultimately learn if the program is going to be a success very, very quickly. Fail fast. That's one of our mantras for our customers. You're not going to strike gold every time you launch a promotion. You're going to have some ones that don't hit the nail on the head. They're just they miss the boat. The ability for our software to allow you the opportunity to create a promotion quickly without a lot of time and benefit, launch it for a short duration of time, and then analyze it, it's bar none the best in the industry. And that's why a lot of our customers are seeing not just benefits on the promotions they're running, but they're getting better running them every time.
I'd like to point out there are a number of resources available here. As you see, there's a video, there's 2 ebooks, there's case studies, there's articles. I suggest you take a look at all of them because we don't have the time to go into as much detail as we'd like to have. WorkStride is the company who sponsored with me today. Here's their URL, and please visit their website. And I'd like to thank you very much, Tom, for your time today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.